Okay, we're live. Hello, this is Alessandrina and this is Dexter, my husband.
Hello.
You may know us from our guided meditations on Insight Timer. We're really happy that you're joining us for this workshop on Transcendent Love. Dexter and I, in addition to creating and producing guided meditations, we're spiritual teachers, life coaches, and healers. Today, if you enjoy the workshop, we appreciate any donation that you generously give us. We use those donations in order to continue to create free work, free guided meditation and other kinds of works that we produce. We want to say a special thank you to our teacher, John Jones, for his love, his wisdom, his light, and really for embodying unconditional love, transcendent love for us, and being a role model for us. So
yeah, and if at any time you have any comments or questions, please feel free to type them into the chat, and we might not be able to address it right away, and we'll do our best to address it as the workshop goes on.
Yeah, so we're going to start with a practice, and the reason for starting with a practice is to really help us loosen up, to connect, to open our hearts so that we can receive this information in a way that is grounded in our body and we can feel light and we can feel good. So this practice, to begin, what we'll do is we're going to do
Before we do that, my love,
yes.
I apologize. If any one of you listening or here could just type into the chat that you can hear us and see us, just to confirm. If you can type into the chat, let us know that you're hearing us and seeing us well. I know this is a new feature for Insight Timer. These, yes, okay, there it is. Thank you. We just got it like 6 or 7 yeses. Thank you.
Wonderful.
All right.
So the beginning of the practice is going to be able to release tension from your physical body. So imagine that around your body there's like an envelope, a little, tissue, a little layer. And when we're kind of like reacting to the external environment with stress, we're tensing in, and all the energy is kind of like old energy that's being kept in, contracted in, instead of us opening ourselves and really being able to feel the energy moving, flowing in and flowing out freely. So this practice is actually a practice in acupuncture that helps you release the tension and clear, right, that envelope, that layer of tension all around your body. And so what you'll do is if you bring your hands, your fingertips, at the level of your neck, right at the base of your neck. So base of the skull and the beginning of your neck.
And the reason we're doing this is because if we're stressed, if we're tense, then we can't be filled with love. So we're creating the space for the love.
Exactly, so that the vessel can be filled with the love, right? So we're opening the boundaries, we're allowing for the energy to flow into the vessel.
Like if you have a cup and it's filled with one liquid, and maybe it's stress, the liquid, and you want it to be filled with love or water, you have to first pour out the stress so it can be filled with the love.
So if you bring your hands there, the tips of your fingers there, and you begin to massage downward in this way, kind of like flicking, as if you're flicking, and what you're doing is you're clearing the accumulated energy there. A lot of tension gets built up in our neck. And it's also, basically there's different channels of energy that it relates to. For instance, our gallbladder is where we accumulate the energy of frustration. And these are the meridians that are related to the gallbladder. So when we do that, we clear that frustration. We clear that accumulated energy. Good. More time. Okay. And then just let your shoulders drop down. Take a moment to feel your body, to relax and to feel the layer around your body just very relaxed and open, allowing for things to flow in and to flow out. And then if you'll join me in saying the sound, repeating the sound. So that sound has the capacity to integrate, to bring about a state of coherence and congruence to the whole body. We might have one part feeling a certain way in our body, another part feeling another way. When you do this sound, you're bringing about integration of all parts. One more time. I'm going to stand up now, and I'm going to show you a movement. It's actually a Qigong movement.
So if you'll stand up with us.
Yeah, you can stand up or you can sit if you don't want to stand up.
It's good to stand to get a little energy moving. And we're doing these practices so we can help you smoothly, gradually open your heart in this workshop, and to help prepare you for the information that we're going to share with you today so that you can integrate it well.
So if you'll start with your hands actually at the level of your heart and connect to your heart and just relax there. And you can close your eyes if that helps you focus in this area. And the intention is to begin to connect to this space, this sacred space that is your heart. And to connect to this transcendent love. And to experience it, to have your own experience of it. Now we're going to open our arms, open our lungs, and bring the arms back. As we inhale and as we exhale, we'll bring the hands back to the heart and we connect to our hearts. When we inhale, we bring new energy in. We open, we activate the heart. We activate the meridians connected to the heart. And when we exhale, we bring the energy back to our heart. We connect there. Inhale. So following your own rhythm, just let yourself expand, open, feel your whole body opening up to this love, this transcendent love.
Feeling your heart smiling, feeling a smile in your heart.
Inhale. Open yourself up, your whole body, to receiving this experience of transcendent love, and exhale, bring this energy into your heart. You can pause there if you want and just let yourself feel it, or you can continue if you feel that your body wants to open more, if you feel that this is helping you be more present, more grounded in your body. Continue the movement or just keep your hands on your heart. And begin to repeat the statement, I choose to love unconditionally. I choose to love unconditionally in every dimension of life. Let yourself feel that. And if your mind is busy, just notice your mind being busy and let yourself connect to this choice, to this intention of cultivating transcendent love in your heart. I choose to love unconditionally in every dimension of life. Maybe you have a vision of what that looks like or feel like, to experience this unconditional love. for yourself, for others, for all beings, all things. I choose to love unconditionally in every dimension of life. Let this love radiate from your heart, this transcendent love that you're choosing. And maybe you have a vision of what that's like when that love radiates into your field, into your relationships, into all dimensions of your life. Let yourself connect to that vision, whatever that is, and to the feelings and emotions and sensations that arise as you choose transcendent love. And when you're ready, you can come back to sit. If you were standing, thank you for doing this little exercise with us. It really helps to be in the body and to bring those very profound experiences into the body so that we can integrate them.
And today we're going to talk a lot about some really interesting and sort of transformational teachings, which can sometimes get a little intellectual. And so we want to keep everything connected back to the heart, back to the body, because at the end of the day, any concepts that we share, the intention is that they lead to you having a wonderful experience in your body, in your life, in your emotional body, your spiritual body, your mental body. And so it's not just about gathering knowledge.
And something also that's practical, that you can apply, that you can take with you into your life, into your daily life. Mm-hmm. So not just an experience, an isolated experience or an isolated learning that then can be applied to what you're doing throughout the day. We really want to help you connect the dots and bring that energy into your day.
Yeah, something that will change the way that you feel and who you are. A deep transformation that changes the baseline, your default mode, and it raises its vibration. So that's our goal here with the information and the practices we're sharing. So today we're going to talk about what is transcendental love, what is unconditional love. Then we're going to talk about the obstacles, and then we're going to end with a little practice. And that's what we're going to do in the next 47 minutes that we have.
So oftentimes when we think of love, we think maybe of romantic love, and also our experience of love is very much a result of our conditioning, what was modeled by our parents, what was modeled by our societies, by our cultures. And so today we want to go beyond that. We want to go beyond the conditioning, the love that is conditioned to either our behaviors or whether we do things the right way or not. We really want to go beyond. So transcendent is going beyond the fears, the judgment, the beliefs, the conditions that we've learned about when to love. So for instance, if our parents modeled love towards us in certain situations, and then let's say at times we were not listening or we were behaving in a certain way that energetically speaking our parents felt was wrong or bad, then maybe they didn't feel love in their heart. It doesn't mean they didn't love us. It just means they didn't feel that. And so that wasn't modeled. And so we learned that. We learned that, love, when I'm good, then I'm loved. But when I'm bad, then I'm not love. So
and then we think that's what love is. And you've heard of tough love, and we begin to assume that okay, well, some judgments in some circumstances are love. And so humanity, us as individuals, the collective consciousness, has the understanding of love that we have. So we have the understanding of love that we have. It's not a complete understanding of love. And as our understanding of love deepens and expands and becomes more conscious and more refined and sophisticated and comprehensive and thorough and subtle, then we get to actually experience that much more love in our lives. And that's special, because if you were to be offered $1 billion now, and you get to keep having the same emotions and fears, you basically feel the same way you do now for the rest of your life, and you have $1 billion. Or if you are offered, instead of that $1 billion, a heart filled with love for the rest of your life, which would you choose? There's a lot of billionaires out there, live with a scowl on their faces day in and day out, and they're stressed, and they don't have a heart filled with love. And then perhaps they don't spend that $1 billion in ways that really fulfill them on a deep level and that really help the world and things. So there's so much value to focus on expanding our understanding of love. And as you participate in this workshop, the entire collective consciousness's understanding of love is increasing and expanding. So let's ask a quick multiple choice question. What is unconditional love? Is it A, being nice to everyone and always helping people in need? Maybe. Is it B, a mother's love that's willing to take a bullet and die for her child? Maybe. Is it an impossible New Age fantasy? Perhaps. Or is it D, love without any judgment, blame, anger, rejection, or exceptions, that is also wise and discerning and always accepting? Now, I know it's a hard one. Yes, so it's D. So why is it not A? Why is it not being nice to everyone always and helping people in need? Well, sometimes saying yes or rescuing people or being nice or doing everything you can to help people is not the most unconditionally loving thing to do. Sometimes it's more unconditionally loving to let someone go through their pain and to learn from their process.
So you could say that in many ways, the choice of unconditional love would be the choice that is in the highest and best good of all. That anytime we make that choice to resonate with unconditional love, we're going to make a choice that is going to serve the highest and best good of all. And so this is something we learn because we're not conditioned to know that, right? A lot of the way that we operate in society is based on herd mentality. So what's going to serve us and our tribe, and not necessarily the highest and best good of all. And we see it, in a lot of the decisions that we make as different countries or different groups. It's mostly about either the country or the group. It's not about the highest and best good of the whole planet and all of the species on the planet. So learning that is a process of exploration, learning this transcendent love, where we are giving love, we are sharing love and receiving it without condition, really being able to be in a state in our hearts where we are at peace and we feel love for all things and all beings, regardless of behaviors or external conditions. So that is transcendent love. That is unconditional love. And that is not what we're conditioned into. Again, not to say that some people don't want to share with us unconditional love, just to say that is, for the most part, mostly mystics and spiritual teachers that have that capacity to be egoless and therefore to embody and to model for us unconditional love.
And we have a comment. Thank you for your comments. It's hard to maintain boundaries and unconditional love, though. And we'll address this because it's such a valuable comment and helpful to address now. If you are unconditionally loving yourself, and you're unconditionally loving them, and you're seeing them and their trajectory, and you're seeing them learn their lessons and benefit from that, and go on being able to fish for a lifetime because they learned how to fish through their experience that you didn't rescue them from. So you're loving them, you're seeing them on their trajectory, and you're loving yourself. So there's no part of you that's like, oh, if I don't do this, I'm a bad person. If I don't do this, I should feel guilty. Or I should feel bad and I should help them. If there's no part of you that's doing that, and therefore you're unconditionally loving yourself, then maintaining boundaries is no longer hard. Maintaining boundaries then becomes an expression of unconditional love. It is when we begin to fear and worry or concern that people will think we don't care about them, or that it means we'll be a bad person if we don't step up and do something here. That's when it becomes really hard to maintain boundaries. So that being said, let's move on to B. Why wasn't the answer B? Why isn't a mother's love that is willing to take a bullet for a child true unconditional love? Well, first of all, we want to say many blessings to all mothers and great respect to mother's love, to the feminine energy and to the maternal love. We are not in any way diminishing that. That being said, there are mothers who would definitely take a bullet for a child, for their child. And those same mothers might also, when the child tells them something or does something that the mother doesn't approve of, those same mothers might might say to the child that that's unacceptable, or it's wrong to feel that way, or it's wrong to do that or think that. So any form of not accepting, any form of judgment, any form of seeing another person, a child, as bad in any way is, in essence, not unconditional love. So it's very important that unconditional love be integrated, so that it's not just happening in a life or death situation, that it's also happening day in and day out. And that takes time. That's something for all individuals to aspire to work towards, to evolve and develop within themselves. And it's not something to judge ourselves for.
As we develop it and cultivate it. So we're learning it. And by the way, when you approach it in this way, as a process of refinement, as a process of cultivation, as a process of constantly enhancing your understanding and your experience of unconditional love, then you are essentially unconditionally loving yourself. And we cannot unconditionally love anyone or anything if we're not having the internal experience. So unconditional love is actually, it's an internal experience. And the mystics and the masters that are unconditional loving, and they are few, you could say that there's a spectrum where humanity is on the spectrum of unconditional love. Some have more of it than others. And you could say that enlightened beings, for instance, because of their capacity to understand reality fundamentally, they have attained unconditional love. And by attaining unconditional love for themselves, by being able to love all aspects of themselves, they are able to become integrated. And then that love, actually, it is said that a lot of masters, and we've been in the presence of some Indian masters, for instance, and Western masters, that you can see the love flowing through their eyes. It's like their eyes are glowing with that love, because there's so much energy in those higher energy center, and it's not deemed by the ego, by, like, oh, I love you if you're like this, or I love you if you don't do this, which is, a lot of us, again, because of our conditioning, we're loving and then we stop loving. We love and then we stop loving. With a master, it's a constant flow of unconditional love that shines from within, from their own heart.
No matter what you say. So if you go to the master and you say, you know what, master, I don't think you know anything. I think you're a fake. The master will continue to unconditionally love. Now, the master might say something like, well, if that's how you feel, then maybe it's best if you leave. And the master might ask a security guard or someone to escort the person out. That doesn't mean that the master wasn't unconditionally loving. So you see, it's a fine line. It's subtle. If the master was feeling love and compassion for that student, for that person, as they ask them to leave, that is still unconditional love. So unconditional love doesn't mean staying in a relationship that's not optimal for you. It does mean having love in your heart for all individuals, seeing them all as children of the universe or of God.
Regardless of their behavior, regardless of their ego.
Literally, no matter what they do. I mean, that's what unconditional means. And that word is there, right? There's a reason why it's called unconditional love. And if we start making exceptions to the word unconditional, well, then it's no longer unconditional. And we're limiting how high we can go. We're limiting what we can achieve as human individuals and perhaps as spiritual individuals. And we're limiting the amount of joy and love for life, for ourselves, and for others that we can experience. And one of the best ways to approach this topic is to feel it out in regards to yourself. Is it safe for you to accept yourself and everything you've ever thought, and every desire you've ever felt, and every emotion you've ever felt, and everything you've ever done, even the things that you feel guilty and ashamed about, and that other people may be called wrong or bad? Is it okay to love yourself and all parts of yourself and everything you've ever done, and to accept it all?
And by the way, if your answer is yes, that is the process of healing and integrating those parts that in the past felt maybe not good enough, or felt that they deserve to be judged or criticized or punished. So when we love them unconditionally, we are integrating, we are healing, and we are more and more able to embody and resonate and be in the energy of unconditional love. The moment we say, I'll only love myself if, or I only love this other person if, now we're not in a consistent state of unconditional love. We're wavering. And by the way, for those of you who are familiar with the energy centers and the chakras, You could say that when we're unconditionally loving, we're in our hearts. And when we say, in moments when someone does something or says something, and we feel either angry or fearful or hateful towards them, in that moment we are in another energy center, a lower energy center that is more survivalistic, that is more trying to control reality. Unconditional love is not about control. It's about choosing an experience. It's a choice that we make because we see the value of making that choice, the benefits for our bodies, for our mind, for our spirit, for our emotions, for all beings, for the planet, for the energy of the planet. So when we choose unconditional love, and we choose to resonate with unconditional love, it doesn't mean that other people will also do that towards us. So it's not a redemption strategy or a control strategy. Now I'm unconditionally loving, so everyone's going to be nice to me. Everyone's going to be, see me. They're going to see my love. It's not like that. There are masters, and some people still judge them. And they are, people who are doing their best to embody unconditional love, and they have relationship challenges and conflict and different things in their family that happens. So if you can realize that you're doing this for yourself, you're doing this to transcend the ego, to really be in a state where you choose love, regardless of what anyone is going to do and whether someone's going to say you're right or wrong, good or bad, it doesn't matter, that you're making that choice for yourself. And that love, that even if it doesn't necessarily right away result in your life being filled with unconditional love from other people, that energy will resonate with others. It will have an influence. If you start to be unconditionally loving towards all things, all beings, all situations, no matter what, you're going to be in a state of inner peace, joy, and that energy is going to start to echo and resonate all around you, and people are going to feel it. And they might be inspired. They might also want to feel what you're feeling. And that's a wonderful thing, because then that echoes into the collective consciousness, and more beings can start to resonate more frequently with unconditional love. So it's not a control strategy, it's not a redemption strategy, and it's also a wonderful experience and a wonderful energy to model for yourself and for others.
And when it's also a path to experience miracles in many ways. When you are unconditionally loving and you react and you consciously choose to respond to a situation with love, rather than to react to it from the typical programs of judgment or fear or anger, amazing things happen. It creates this space for change inside of ourselves and in other people. And we get to witness that. We don't cause it, we get to witness it. And we get the benefit of having made that choice and getting to experience the unconditional love that we choose to apply. Now, all that being said, we have some good questions, and it takes us very nicely into the next section, which is obstacles to unconditional love. Because no one is expected to walk out of this workshop and be perfect and be perfectly unconditionally loving. Like, if someone honks at you, it's okay. You might have a negative thought about them. That's understandable. And the intention here when setting this high bar of pure unconditional love is actually not to set a high bar. It's just to shine light on where we can go, on what a wonderful experience in consciousness we actually have the capacity to create. So one of the questions was, how do you do it when people are so mean in a life and death situation? And another question was, how can we unconditionally love someone who has betrayed us? So When we operate from our conditioning, we tend to label things. We tend to stop at those labels, meaning we don't understand deeper beneath those labels. A label could be when people are so mean in a life or death situation. Or a label could be when they have betrayed us. So you may have heard the saying, when you understand your enemy, when you truly understand them, you love them.
Yeah, or another way of saying that is by their light, it makes sense.
So basically, if you could see from their shoes and from their eyes, if you could put yourself in their experience and in their past life experiences, maybe they had abuse as a child, they suffered abuse as a child, and then you would understand. You would understand why they reacted that way, and you would see that they were operating from fear. They were operating from stress and survival. It was a fight or flight reaction. It wasn't their most conscious and intentional parts. It's not what they really wanted, knowingly. And when we see that, when people, then it goes beyond just people being mean in a life or death situation. So the question, how do you unconditionally love people being so mean in a life or death situation? It transforms into actually, how do you unconditionally love people who are so afraid and reacting in fight or flight, and even fighting for survival? How do you love that? Well, that's lovable, isn't it? Because you've gone beneath the label and you've seen what really is. If you see human beings who are afraid
and in pain,
then there can be compassion there for those human beings who are struggling to live, just like you might have compassion for a plant that's struggling without water and without enough sunlight, trying to reach for the sunlight, or a puppy, an innocent puppy that's trying to live in some situation. It's the same for humans. The thing about humans is that we have such an active mind and we're so conditioned into stress and survival that we're actually playing out life or death situations in our mind in some pretty typical, standard, everyday situations. So that a conversation with someone at the store or with your partner in the kitchen can turn into like this huge fight, and they could be being like really mean. When you see what they were going through internally, when you see the fear that they were feeling,
which leads to unconsciousness,
then there's the space for understanding your enemy and then loving them.
Now, if I can add to that, because it's important, so oftentimes the love that we learn to give comes when there's love on the other side. So if someone is loving and kind, then we love them. So in those situations that you've described, this person is not resonating with love. They're resonating with either fear or maybe anger or hatred. And so once they embody that energy, it can be challenging when we feel their energy that is not one of love for ourselves to stay in a state of love and to resonate with love. And that is what unconditional love, transcendent love is. It is that when someone else is in fear and unconscious or maybe ignorant and not resonating with love, to choose to resonate with love. Now, sometimes it's difficult in certain situations to understand, well, how does that translate, that unconditional love? Because some people may think that means I should agree, right? So they imagine that if they unconditionally love someone, that means they agree with the behavior of that person, and therefore it will continue to unfold in the same way. It will repeat. It's not like that. Unconditional love doesn't mean that if someone is doing something hurtful or harmful, you're going to just agree with it and not do anything about it.
Right.
It simply means that you choose to love them and to see what is, and to see their pain and their lack of love and their ignorance and their fear, and to love that, to see that, just like if, like Dexter said, if it was a plant or a puppy or a baby, and to love the fear in that. And when you love the fear in someone else, when you love their ignorance, their unconsciousness, their pain, you're actually lifting them. You're raising their vibration, their consciousness. Now, again, it doesn't mean you're going to say, oh yeah, walk all over me, and no, you could choose to walk away and take let's say, just step out of the house, or even you could end a relationship, and that would still be from unconditional love. Meaning, based on where the person is at, unconditional love might translate into, a form of physical separation, whether it's, short-term or long-term. So it's important to realize that when other people resonate with fear or anger or hatred or some form of ignorance, we don't have to also go there. We can stay conscious and unconditionally loving, and it doesn't mean that now we're exposed or that we're at risk or something bad is going to happen to us. On the contrary, we're operating from consciousness, from a higher state of consciousness, being unconditionally loving, and we'll know, what to do.
And, oh, good. So we had a comment that said, thank you, you just answered my question. Good. And to just apply all that to the other question, which was, how can we unconditionally love someone who has betrayed you? Well, there's that label again. This person betrayed me. That's a very personalized statement. It's like, when we say that, we're making it about us. Oh, they betrayed me. When really what was going on in that person, whenever they did that, had nothing to do with us. They were in fear. They were imagining and projecting these terrible things happening, and then they tried to protect themselves from it with fight or flight response. So if we see that, then we can understand and forgive. If we then turn that into what we've been conditioned to turn it into, which is, they betrayed me, and so now I should in some way, judge or punish them. If we go down into that cycle of judgment, then we're kind of stuck, and it's really hard to unconditionally love. And just so that we say this, of course we can unconditionally love everyone, including those who hurt us, including those who do bad things. Of course we can, because we look around. If you really look around, what you'll see is outer space. And you won't find another planet with human life for a long time. They're really far away, if there is any that exist. So we're living on this brilliant green and blue ball, and we're getting in the middle of space, right? If you start with nothing, no concept of humanity, no concept of life, we're in this world that is so brilliant and creative, with life and with humanity and with whales and with animals that live in the sea and animals that fly, and we get to have this incredible experience, this opportunity, and it gets even deeper than just the physical, because in this experience, in this world, we get to make decisions with our free will and see how that works out. See if it helps us experience more love with our brothers and sisters, husbands and wives, with our partners, with other beings. And then through that, we get these experiences of, if you remember when you see a beautiful movie, or when someone you love said something so kind and beautiful to you, how your heart opened, and how you may have even cried tears of joy. That we get to enter that realm and experience that. And if there's a possibility that we are also spiritual beings, and that we live multiple lives, and that this entire process of us making decisions and using our free will is a process of our learning to ultimately share unconditional love. If the destination is so beautiful, then isn't every step? And doesn't a destination that is that beautiful, doesn't it require some difficult steps, some challenging steps? And if we keep in mind how beautiful the intention is, how beautiful the opportunity is, can we learn to love every single step? Like climbing a 1,000-story building and knowing that what's at the top is just so wonderful. And with every step we climb, we get closer to the top. And yes, on some of those steps in the stairwell, sometimes someone will pop out and call us a jerk, or push us, or do mean things. And when they do that, what they're actually doing is they're helping us up.
They are our greatest teachers. So our quote-unquote enemies, the people that seem to trigger us, they are our greatest teachers of unconditional love. Again, I said earlier on, it's easy to love someone who loves you and is kind to you and does everything the way that your ego wants you for it to be. And it's less when someone is having a behavior that brings us pain in us. So I wanted to add something that I think could be very meaningful in shifting into a state of unconditional love. If you'll notice throughout the day how many times we look for reasons not to love. Oh, this person did this, and this is happening, and this situation in my life, and this. If you can notice that, and then if you can ask yourself to shift into asking yourself for reasons to love, all the reasons why unconditionally loving is really the most wonderful, the most wondrous, the most optimal and freeing and the most really beneficial experience for the highest and best good of all. So if you'll ask yourself the question, when you find reasons, if you're finding reasons not to love yourself, not to love your life, not to love others, not to love different situations, different countries, people, circumstances, if you'll ask yourself and look for reasons to love, all the reasons why loving is really the most optimal choice for you and for all. That can be a nice shift.
If we can do that, you have that capacity to make that choice. Sometimes what happens is that we get pulled into fight or flight and stress and survival. So someone does something and we feel it like pain and we react to that pain. And that's programming, that's conditioning from our childhood. And so we're part of humanity, and humanity, like human beings right now, are learning to evolve from that. You know, in the past, a long time ago, we were perhaps far more violent and aggressive, and now we're less violent and aggressive, and we still have a long way to go. And if you want, you can be a leader in that process. And so I just want to share with you that it's a sort of a twofold process. One is cultivating unconditional love, choosing to unconditionally love. And the other one is starting to clear all of the conditioning that has conditioned us into using fear, judgment, punishment, expectation to navigate life. And we call that basically the ego, or the stress and survival approach to life, and also the problem mentality.
So if you've done some of our meditations, you may be familiar. We have it's important. And sometimes people ask, but why do you bring up these negative things? Because if you want to be an empty vessel to unconditional love, first the stuff that's in the way. There's actually a story like that where a student goes to see a spiritual master, and he wants to learn from that master, and he starts telling the master, I know this and I know that, and the master starts pouring him tea, and he's pouring the tea, and now the cup is full and it continues to pour out, and the student says, well, why are you doing this? It's going all over the place. And the master says, you're as full as this cup. There's no space for any learning. So when in our meditations, we try to find that balance where we help you clear things that are in the way, things that are in your cup, that are preventing you from experiencing freedom, inner peace, joy, happiness, to manifest the things that you want to manifest and receive in your life, and to feel and experience unconditional love. And then we help you also cultivate the energy and the emotions of for instance, of unconditional love or other things that you want to experience. So that balance is important, because without clearing, these things are going to continue to bubble up and to have influence and to be a mix in the energy. Just like if you were making some kind of food, it would be a combination of all the ingredients. So if you have anger, if you have fear, if you have disappointment, if you have different energies in your system from the past, from your childhood conditioning, your ancestors, or your past life, if you believe in past lives, those energies are there. And until you've cleared their influence, they're going to continue to have an influence on how you experience yourself, others, reality, and therefore they will be limiting your experience of unconditional love. So you want to clear that, clear the obstacles, and Dexter is going to take us through an exercise to do that. And you want to also cultivate the light, the love, and the energy of unconditional love.
And before we move on to the next section, another quick multiple choice question. When you fail to be unconditionally loving, when you fail, quote unquote, to be unconditionally loving, and you get triggered and you react, or you judge someone, or you yell, or you walk away, what is the best thing to do next? When you get angry or upset, what's the best thing to do next? Is it A, punish the person who triggered you for throwing you off your unconditional love game? Is it B, judge yourself for failing to be a good person and feel bad about yourself? Is it C, convince yourself that this is one of those situations where unconditional love doesn't apply? Or is it D, forgive yourself, understand how and why you became triggered so you can dig up the programming, and as soon as possible, refocus on unconditionally loving yourself, others, and your life? Yeah, it's D. So, and I want to answer quickly a question.
Which is interesting. D is usually the wrong answer when we get a D.
You mean the gray?
Yes.
So, it's always D now. So, someone asked if there's any resources for discovering the types of programming. And I just want to quickly say, the greatest resource is your own process of self-observation. Anytime that you feel upset or afraid, anytime you feel any negative emotion, you can be sure you're in a program. Because when there is no programs, then there is peace. There's inner peace. The donation button's not working. That's funny. That reminds us, we've been asked to, if you appreciate this and it's benefiting you and you want to, please donate to support us continuing to offer these for free on Insight Timer. And thank you for reporting that the donation button isn't working. And we'll let Insight Timer know. So we carry a lot of stuff. We carry a lot of beliefs. We carry a lot of judgments. We carry a lot of expectations. Like, we have ideas about how things should go down and how people should be and what they should or shouldn't do, and how the toilet paper roll should be on this way or that way, and how the table should be set, and whether it's okay to burp out loud or not. We have so many expectations and judgments and beliefs, and everyone's are different. So there's a story of a monk, two monks, and they're walking through the wilderness to the village. And they come upon a pretty fast stream, like a river. And there's a lady trying to cross, but she can't because the water's fast and she's small. And the first monk, who's a younger monk, just, doesn't even look at the lady and just whoop, crosses the river, doesn't help her. Because, they're not supposed to touch women for fear of like sexual attraction and things like that. The second monk, the older, wiser monk, sees the lady, says, "Hey, can I help you?" Picks her up and helps her across the river, puts her down, and goes on his merry way with the other monk. Now, 10 minutes later, the younger monk is like huffing and puffing. He's like angry and he's like disappointed and clearly upset. And so the older monk, the wise monk, says, "Hey, what's going on? What are you upset about?" And the younger monk says, "I can't believe you did that. We made vows and you touched that woman." And the older monk looks at the younger monk and said, "I put that lady down 10 minutes ago and you're still carrying her?" So we carry so much. We carry so much and none of it needs to be carried. And everything that we carry is, in a sense, an obstacle to inner peace and unconditional love.
It separates us from it. The energy of it is different than the energy of unconditional love. So whatever we carry that is not resonant with unconditional love in our system is going to bring up the thoughts, the emotions, and the energies that it does, and it will be separate from unconditional love.
And there's no belief or rule that is going to apply in every situation. And so any of those that we carry is inevitably going to lead to contradiction with reality. And then we're going to feel this conflict between the belief and what's actually happening. And it's going to be difficult to navigate that.
When in fact, when we operate from unconditional love and consciousness, then we will know, and I'm putting quotes on that, right action. We will know from our heart what is the right action, just like the older monk could understand that in this situation, it was not problematic to have that interaction with the woman, and he chose to do what was wise, discerning, loving, and conscious.
So, fear, judgment, expectation, and beliefs that cause it, that are what get triggered. Like if someone skips us in line, the belief, "Oh, people shouldn't skip us in line," gets triggered, right? And then we're not in unconditional love anymore because someone's done something wrong. Or when a partner, yells at us because they're in deep pain, we might say, "Oh, well, that's not how you treat someone." That's the belief, right? That's not how you treat someone. And so then we're not in unconditional love anymore. And so we don't even listen to them, actually, and we yell back at them. So fear, beliefs, expectations, and judgments must be dismantled, must be healed, so that there's space for love and light. And it's ideally done simultaneously. So whatever your practice is in life, if in addition to focusing on positivity, on affirmations, on building love, on feeling love, if you can couple that with some effective techniques for clearing fear, clearing beliefs, clearing judgments, clearing your stressors, that's going to make it much easier. And here is one very basic and very important and helpful practice that you can use. And this one is more of a shifting your relationship to the things in your life. So all of us, yes, please, love.
When you shift your relationship to the different things in your life, you shift the energy that's tied to them. And when your perspectives change, your emotions change, your energy changes. So I wanted to bring that up because that's why it's so valuable to do this practice. It changes your energy.
Yeah, your entire approach to life changes with this practice. The way you see yourself, the world you think you live in, changes with this practice. And we have a good question here about the mask, and we'll address that in a bit. So, how many things are we carrying? How many things are you carrying, like that monk? How many problems do you have unfolding in your life? Problems that need to be addressed or solved? How many things are you trying to fix and get to? How many desires are you trying to manifest? How many thoughts are those putting in your mind throughout the day, rather than allowing you to feel inner peace and just appreciate and receive? These things that we focus on and carry, these and the stresses that come into us in the morning, like you might notice that right when you wake up, when you're still in that half sleep state, you're actually quite peaceful and your body's so relaxed. And then like an hour later, after you're awake, you're like thinking, okay, I got to do this, I have to do this, I have to do that, I can't forget about this. So all of that is problem mentality. And this practice turns that on its head. Because if you're waking up to problems, basically, and you might not have recognized it as a problem in the past, that doesn't mean that you're not relating to it as if it's a problem. So it's good to become self-aware of any parts of you that have been approaching life from the problem mentality, because it's often subconscious, right? That means that we don't know we're doing it. So now we're helping you realize you're doing it, so that then you can shift and experience the benefits.
Yeah, and it's conditioned to, including in our education, problem solving. At school, we learn to solve a mathematical problem.
Yes, it's deep in our conditioning. So no one's to blame here. It's not bad. We're just learning to continuously evolve.
And extricate ourselves from the things that keep us in a state of limitation, such as thinking in terms of problems instead of thinking in terms of opportunities and what's possible.
And focusing our energy on where we can really help ourselves. And ironically, we often spend our time trying to put out the fires, right? Put out fires in life and solve the problems. When a shift in our internal approach to life could allow us to actually put out way more fires. Like, have you seen someone who's stressed go about a task? Or have you ever gone about a task while stressed and it takes you like twice as long or 3 times as long? Or you go to fix something and you're stressed and you end up breaking another thing. So here's the practice. If you have a pen and paper, great. If not, you can just do this in your head now. And I would recommend doing it later with a pen and paper and keeping this paper with you and reading it every time you go back into stress. So if you would connect, if you would feel, go within right now, relax, and start to feel what it's been like to be in your life, in your body, for the past day or 2 or 3. And what are your main stressors? What are your main struggles?
Things that keep coming up, that bring negative thoughts or negative emotions, stress or anxiety.
Maybe you have maybe you have a relationship issue or a career issue or a health issue. Whatever it is for you. And once you've identified the three main ones that bring you stress, that fill your head with thoughts that you ruminate on, and that fill your body with uncomfortable sensations like anxiety. So once you have those 3, maybe you write down, or you think, okay, so maybe your issue is a relationship that you don't have that you want. And so you write down relationship. And next to that, you write down opportunity. Right? Maybe your issue is you work at a store and people refuse to wear masks. And then you ask them to wear masks and they hate you for it. So then what you would write down is like people not wearing masks, opportunity. Right? And then maybe the other one is a money situation. So you write down money, opportunity. So you write opportunity next to each problem, what used to be a problem. And after it, you write down the really incredible and deep and heartfelt opportunity this is bringing you, the lessons it's bringing you. So like, for example, the relationship, what used to be problem, is now an opportunity. The relationship opportunity, it might be that you and your partner are fighting every day and yelling at each other and threatening divorce. So what's the opportunity? Perhaps this is giving me the opportunity to reflect on how I approach my relationship and to let go of what I think relationships should be, and to really learn to hear and listen to my partner and surrender to this process and whatever it's teaching me, and to love myself even when my partner is upset with me. So to love myself no matter how anyone feels about me, no matter what anyone says or does. So what a precious opportunity that is. And would you ever be sufficiently motivated without that opportunity on this green and blue ball suspended in black space, where the stage of these opportunities? So remember, this doesn't mean allowing someone to abuse you or anything like that. There's still, even in that situation, the opportunity could be, if you're suffering from abuse, the opportunity could be learning to love myself enough to set boundaries and to face my fear of leaving, basically, and of going out on my own and trusting myself. That's a wonderful opportunity. Another opportunity could be if in a relationship where it's difficult relationship and you don't know if it's time to move on or not, you could see the opportunity as an opportunity to really look within and decide, what do I really want in my life? And who do I really want to spend that with? And that's, again, another opportunity to unearth any parts of yourself that feel like, well, if you leave this person, you might not find another. And facing that fear is an unconditionally loving thing to do for yourself. So whatever the problem is that you have, if you find that really deep opportunity that it's providing you, if it's a money opportunity, maybe it's teaching you to appreciate what you do have right in front of you. If you feel like you don't have enough money, and that used to be the problem. So you write down money opportunity equals the opportunity to appreciate every single breath that I take and simply be grateful for being alive. And to perhaps look into my heart and find, what do I really want to do? Because if you were a salesman and you were unhappy and you were making plenty of money every year, maybe you'd never get the opportunity to ask yourself that question. So now your lack of money problem is truly an opportunity to ask yourself, well, what do I really want to do for the rest of my years? So you see how you can actually wake up tomorrow in a life, in a world that is filled with opportunities for you. And if you do this practice and you allow yourself, you fearlessly allow yourself to see life this way, and you see that as a very conscious and wise and mature approach to life, because it is.
And an unconditionally loving one.
Then how much easier will it be to just unconditionally love your life? And when the person on the street that calls you a jerk or crashes into your car and says it's your fault when it wasn't, brings up anger and stuff for you to clear so that you have less anger from this day forward.
And less attachment or less aversion.
Less attachment to having the perfect car, less fear about having to pay for the car.
Less fear of lack of money. So that's an opportunity. Even if it looks like a problem and it looks like it's going to have negative implications on our budget, on our life, when we begin to look at things in that way, it really shifts the energy. And it shifts how we engage with ourselves, with others, and with life. And it helps us become centered in our hearts. And so today, this workshop is all about really learning how to center yourself in your heart.
And so if you would take those opportunities, if you have taken the three stressors, the three major stressors that you deal with every day, and you've turned them into opportunities, and now you haven't even turned them into opportunities, you've actually realized that they have been all along. And if you allow yourself to look at those now and to start to feel those in your life as opportunities, so that when you look out at your life, when you look at tomorrow, when you look at the next 10 minutes, when you look at after this session, what you see is an opportunity to attain something really meaningful, really deep.
And when you're doing that, you're cultivating unconditional love and you're resolving your conditioning. And therefore, you're coming closer to unconditional love.
And so if you close your eyes and feel that now, and Alessandrina will guide you through a brief meditation here.
So if you'll bring your awareness in the space of your heart, and if your mind is busy and you're feeling whatever you're feeling in your body, just let it all come and go as it does. Just noticing it without reacting to it. And choosing to place your awareness in the space of your heart center. The center of wholeness, of oneness, of unconditional love. And whether in the past you've resonated with problems or not, if you let yourself begin to resonate with the word opportunity, seeing all of you, all of everyone, all of life, all that is as an opportunity to create, to heal, to grow, to love. Let yourself feel that in your heart, what that means, what's possible from that space. And maintaining your awareness there and bringing space, light, breath, openness. Continuously releasing, letting go of anything that is not that is not opportunity. Anything that tells you that you can't do that, that you're not suppressing it, you're not repressing it, you're just choosing to see yourself, to see feel in your heart what it feels like to live in a reality where there is only opportunity. and where there is only love. Because really that's all there is. Everything else is illusion. Illusion of the mind. You don't have to continue to believe in what the mind says. You don't have to judge the mind either. You can love it unconditionally. And you can return to your heart center. And to trust it and to feel it. And to let it inform you, guide you towards all of these opportunities in your life, in all of life on the planet. To find reasons to love more. And to find reasons to share that unconditional, transcendent love with all that is. And how good does it feel to find reasons to love? Just feel that in your heart. Choosing love. And to be incarnated in such a way that we have that choice. In every moment we can choose love. Seeing that opportunity and choosing it. And loving yourself unconditionally when you don't. And returning back to your heart again and again. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. And we're sorry it was longer than an hour.
I have one thing I want to end on,
okay.
If that's okay. So, this is a quick story about a private client who's working with us quite a bit and very intentional in their process of releasing their programming and cultivating also. And they were looking to move, and they had previously only rented for their entire, this client and the partner had only rented for their entire lives. And they briefly looked into purchasing. They went onto a website called Zillow with the realtors and stuff, and they looked into purchasing a home, and they found a realtor, and they talked to them briefly, but they decided, no, I probably can't buy right now. And so they moved on, and they went back to looking at the rental market, right? Homes to rent. And they found one, and it looked really great for them because it was nice for them. It was what they wanted, and they started to interact with the landlord, and they applied and stuff, and the landlord was being and you haven't seen the place in person. And the client said, well, we'll do this. We'll pay you a little extra. And so by the end of it, like the landlord had turned so many things into problems that the renter had spent like nights like hoping they get the house and hoping they get the house, the client, and in stress and anxiety and fear of not getting the house. And projecting lack about there not being houses there. There's so few. There's only one that comes on the market every week there. And so they were really losing sleep over it and struggling and stressed and feeling like things weren't going their way and like they had to convince this homeowner. So finally, the homeowner says, okay, under these terms that you've suggested, I'll do it for this price and that. And now they're paying way more and have a bunch of other conditions. And
so the scales are really like this right now.
And so they get the contract and they read the contract and they were working on fear release work and on releasing beliefs and attachments. So using the practices that we share with them, And they realized, this doesn't feel good anymore. This doesn't feel wise anymore. This changed. This isn't what it started out as. It started out as this wonderful opportunity, and now working with this person, like, I feel so much lack, and like we can barely afford this now. And so one of the conditions was that they send someone to go look at the house for them. And they didn't know anyone in this area, so they went on Craigslist and hired someone to go look for the house because the landlord felt, oh, well, someone needs to see it before you take it. It wasn't enough that they saw all the pictures of it online and stuff. So they find someone on Craigslist to go see it. And the person's name happens to be the same name as the name of the realtor that they had spoken to earlier about buying a home, right? So they find this person and they go to message this person, say, okay, could you be here at this time, at this place? And so they paid someone on Craigslist like, I don't know, $100 to go do this. And they accidentally messaged the realtor. So they messaged the realtor, and in the process, it got them, the realtor said, hey, let's talk again. And so they started talking again to the realtor. And on the day that they were supposed to sign the contract, they had that conversation with the realtor. They would have never had that conversation if they hadn't accidentally supposedly never, if they hadn't accidentally. And on that call with the realtor, they learned that they actually did have the financial means to purchase a home, and that they wouldn't need to rent any longer. And there was a whole lot more homes available to buy, and they bought a home that they loved. So talk about an opportunity of getting this. So this type of support in life, from this type of compassion in life, it's, in our experience, it tends to exist. That you are supported, you are loved, and if you are willing to live, to accept that life is an opportunity, and that everything in life is an opportunity, even the pain, even the struggle, even the challenge, and you're able to use your wisdom and discernment to identify what the opportunity is and focus on it, that you will experience those miracles, and that they will certainly help you open your heart and unconditionally love. We've experienced miracles like that in our lives from practicing this, and our clients have too. And so, of course, so can you. So we hope that you enjoyed this. Is there anything else that you want to add?
No, I think this is a good foundation, and we're really grateful that you joined us, and we're so grateful for all your comments on our meditations. It's so kind, and it really we continue to take into consideration anything to improve our meditations and to bring experiences for you that are going to continue to help you heal, to evolve, and to experience transcendent love. So thank you so much. And I think our next workshop might be December 4th. You'll see that in the live section. And I believe we'll be talking about conscious relationships and how to apply love in relationships consciously.
And if this helped you, please leave a donation. It supports Insight Timer and it supports us. And do you want to take any questions, or should we stop now because of the time?
I'm not sure how it works on Insight Timer. So we haven't done a live on Insight Timer before. We can take a question. I believe they haven't cut us off. So,
is there any questions at this time? Someone asked about the mask wearing. I'll approach that while anyone else can type in their question. So if you work at a grocery store and people aren't wearing masks, that can definitely seem like a problem because COVID is an illness. And without getting into anything political or anything like that.
And by the way, it's so interesting that would come up because we were at Whole Foods a week ago, and there was a situation just like that where someone was very intense and got very triggered, and they were not wearing a mask, and they started fighting with the store owners. Mm-hmm. So interesting that would come up.
So if someone comes in to the store and they're not wearing a mask, and it's perhaps your job to tell them to please put on a mask. If they say to you, oh, you're a jerk, and they criticize you and they're rude to you, when you're just trying to actually help keep everyone safe and healthy, might parts of you feel pain when they say those things to you, when they're not kind to you? And might parts of you be averse to that pain? You don't want to feel it. What is that pain really, if not self-judgment? So if the person is saying those things to you and you're feeling like, oh my gosh, it's not okay for me to say this, oh my gosh, this person might hurt me, oh my gosh, they're saying I'm being a bad person and then I'm making them do things.
Or they're exposing me or other people.
How much of that is actually unconditionally loving yourself while you say it? So what an opportunity it is to be able to tell people who don't believe in mask wearing to wear masks, because they're almost guaranteed to get upset. And that's going to guarantee to bring up parts of you that are not being unconditionally loving to yourself yet. Programs.
Or to them if you judge.
Or to them if you judge them and you get angry at them or even hate them. And then with that coming up, then you can become aware of it. You can allow yourself to feel it. You can allow yourself to accept it and to love it and be okay with it. And in that process, clear it and resolve it.
By the way, no I can experience unconditional love. So their programs cannot be unconditionally loving towards you, and your programs cannot be unconditionally loving towards them. Right? To get to unconditional love, it's about going beyond the I. It's about releasing and clearing the I. So that's the opportunity. The opportunity is, oh, there's still some I-ness, some ego that wants to say it's not safe or it's not okay to love in those situations. So this is an opportunity to love them and to love yourself more.
The ego we like to see ourselves as, oh, I'm Dexter and this body that I need to keep safe and prevent bad things from happening. And as soon as that image of yourself is created as an I, right, in the mind, all of a sudden your mind just starts to constantly try to protect that image and prepare and to control life around that image. And it becomes really impossible to be unconditionally loving. When that image is gone, your mind is quiet, your heart opens, you can love people, and you can be really present and aware and navigate life really consciously and wisely.
Yeah, by the way, an ego, right, like I was saying earlier on, cannot be unconditionally loving. An I, a body, it's the soul that experiences unconditional love. It's the soul that knows that all the things that we imagine to be unsafe or to be potentially problematic, the soul realizes that none of that is true. And when you're in your soul and when you're experiencing yourself as a soul, then you can have the experience of unconditional love.
And so one last question is the inner critic and how to work with it. Well, from the context of being unconditionally loving, the inner critic is certainly not unconditionally loving. The inner critic is oftentimes ego, and it's usually like whipping us on the back, telling us we have to be different or do different or change faster or work harder. And so how do you heal that? Well, first you recognize it, because if you're embodying your inner critic and you don't know it, and you're talking to yourself and you're talking to other people as it, then you're sort of lost in the program. So the first thing is being able to notice when you're in the inner critic. As soon as you've noticed you're in the inner critic, you say, oh, that's my inner critic. Now you're not the inner critic anymore. Now you're the consciousness observing the inner critic, which is excellent. The next step is to, from that consciousness, is to love the inner critic. And you can allow yourself to feel it as you observe it with your consciousness. You let yourself literally feel the pain of the inner critic. And you say to it, I love you. I love you. And you just love it. And you hold it. And you nurture it. And you'll feel it dissolve and relax.
And then you won't be in the inner critic, so you're integrating. Because the more you love it, the more it becomes irrelevant. It's no longer a program. It's no longer needed. It's no longer relevant. Because you're learning that it's safe to have this inner critic and it's not necessary. And that applying love to it completely dissolves it and resolves it.
Okay, so we're going to wrap up now. We hope that this helped you. We hope that it opened your eyes about what unconditional love can be. We hope that this helps you in future make slightly different intentions and decisions so that when you go into anger, you're like, oh, I'm in anger. I'm going to love myself and I'm going to choose something else. And we hope to see you again in future workshops.
Yeah, thank you so much. And please, if you can donate for our work and for also to support Inside Time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, thank you. Love to you all.
Bye.